You know, some fights start so small you barely notice them creeping up like a neighbor borrowing your Wi-Fi without asking. No big deal, right? But in our little corner of Pine Hollow, that tiny spark lit a fire that burned everything down, left my daughter fighting for her life, and turned our quiet suburb into a battleground for justice. I'm Sarah, just a regular mom. And this is the story of how one woman's obsession with control nearly destroyed us and how we fought back. It was a warm September evening in Pine Hollow, North Carolina, the kind where the sunset paints everything gold and you can smell barbecue from someone's backyard. Me and my daughter, Ellie, were in our kitchen, same as always. Chopping peppers for tacos, her at the table, nose buried in her laptop, working on some school project about public health. Ellie's 16, sharp as a tack, dreams of being a doctor someday, always talking about how she wants to help people. That night, she looked up, her brown curls catching the light, and said, "Mom, I changed our Wi-Fi password again." Mrs. Larson's smart TV was hogging our signal again. I groaned, setting my knife down a little too hard. "Ellie, I told you to let me deal with her." "See, Mrs. Larson." Connie Larson was our neighborhood's HOA queen, and not the good kind. She was the type who'd fine you for a mailbox leaning half an inch too far left, the kind who'd stare out her window like a hawk, waiting for you to slip up. Connie lived in this big, perfect house on Birch Lane, white columns, roses trimmed like they're auditioning for a magazine cover. For 10 years, she'd ruled Pine Hollow like her personal kingdom, dishing out fines, threats, and smug little smiles that made your skin crawl. She'd been tapping into our Wi-Fi for months, claiming it was her right as HOA president to monitor community networks. Total nonsense, but try telling her that. I'd asked her to stop once, real polite, out by the community mailbox. Her response? A week later, we got a stack of HOA violations. Our grass was unkempt. Our porch light was the wrong wattage, and don't get me started on the birdhouse Ellie made in shop class. Apparently, it was aesthetically non-compliant. I'm a nurse, working long shifts at St. Mary's Hospital, barely keeping our little two-bedroom afloat after my ex, Tom, bailed on us years ago. Those fines hit hard, and Connie knew it. Ellie, Thuff's got this fire in her, same as I did at her age. She slammed her laptop shut, her voice sharp. "Mom, she's a bully. She made Mr. Jenkins apologize for his dog barking his dog. Mom, the one that's deaf. Someone's got to stand up to her." I sighed, rubbing my temples. "Sweetie, I get it, but Connie's got the whole HOA board in her pocket. She's got friends at City Hall, even the police chief's wife. You poke her, she'll poke back harder." Ellie just gave me that look, stubborn, fearless, like she could take on the world. It scared me, that look, because I knew Connie wasn't just petty. She was dangerous. The next morning, I was at work, elbow deep in a 12-hour shift, when my phone buzzed. Ellie's name on the screen. She never calls during my shifts unless it's serious. My heart was already pounding as I stepped into the hall. "Mom, you gotta come home," she said, her voice shaking, not with fear, but with this raw, burning anger. Connie lost it. She's gone too far. I didn't wait for details, just grabbed my keys, told my supervisor I had an emergency, and tore out of the hospital. The drive home was a blur, my mind racing with every awful possibility. I've seen enough in the ER to know how fast things can go wrong. When I pulled into our driveway, it was like stepping into a nightmare. Ellie was on our front lawn, her jeans torn, knees scraped bloody, her backpack dumped in the dirt, pages from her biology textbook scattered like leaves. Across the street, Connie stood on her porch, screaming into her phone, her perfect hair a mess, her face twisted with rage. I ran to Ellie, checking her like I would a patient. No broken bones, no major bleeding, but she was trembling, her eyes red from crying. "What happened?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ellie pointed at Connie. "I caught her messing with our Wi-Fi again, Mom. She was on her laptop, right there on her porch, trying to hack into our router. I told her to stop, real calm, like you always say. But she flipped out, grabbed my bag, threw it in her stupid fountain, and pushed me down when I tried to get it back." I saw red. This wasn't just about Wi-Fi anymore, this was assault, a grown woman attacking my kid. I marched across the street, heart pounding, ready to tear into Connie. She hung up her phone as I got close, smirking like she'd already won. Your little princess needs to learn respect, she spat. She came onto my property, yelling, causing a scene. I'm the HOA president, Sarah. I keep this neighborhood civilized. I could barely keep my voice from shaking. You pushed my daughter, Connie. You destroyed her schoolwork. This isn't about rules, this is you bullying a teenager. Her eyes glinted, cold and mean. You think you're so perfect, don't you? You and your saintly nurse act, your kid with her big college dreams. You don't belong here, Sarah. Never have. Call the cops if you want. Chief Daniels has dinner at my house every Sunday. Good luck. That threat hit like a punch. Connie wasn't just a bully, she had power, real power, the kind that could crush a single mom like me. Ellie, though, she wasn't backing down. She'd followed me across the street, her voice cutting through the air. You're pathetic, Connie. You're just a sad old lady who picks on people because you've got nothing else. No wonder your kids never visit. Oh, that hit her hard. Connie's face went pale, then red, her hands shaking like she might actually lunge at Ellie. Instead, she hissed, "You'll regret this. Both of you. I'll make sure Pine Hollow knows exactly who you are." She stormed inside, slamming her door so hard the windows rattled. That night, we tried to eat dinner spaghetti, Ellie's favorite, but the air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. Around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. There was Connie, all prim and proper again, handing me a manila folder like it was a court summons. "This is an official HOA violation notice," she said, her voice ice cold. "Your daughter's behavior, today disrespecting an HOA official, trespassing, disturbing the peace. That's $2,000 in fines, due by tomorrow, or we start foreclosure proceedings." I stared at the papers, my stomach dropping. Foreclosure? We'd fought so hard to keep this house, every extra shift, every skipped vacation. "You can't do this," I said, but she just smiled. "Check the HOA charter you signed, Sarah. It's all there. And my security cameras? They show everything." Ellie peeked over my shoulder, her voice steady. "You're lying. Your cameras don't even face our yard." Connie's smile didn't waver. "Try me." I barely slept that night, poring over the HOA charter, a mess of legal jargon that gave Connie way too much power. I dug into her history online, and what I found made my blood run cold. Over the years, 5 families had left Pine Hollow after fights, with Connie fines piling up, legal threats, even foreclosures. The Wilsons lost their home over unapproved fence paint. The Garcias moved away after Connie targeted their autistic son for noise violations. She wasn't just mean, she was a predator, using the HOA to ruin lives. I knew we were in deep trouble. The next day, I was back at work, trying to focus, when my phone rang again. Ellie's number. Her voice was so quiet I could barely hear her. "Mom," she shot me. The world stopped. My phone hit the floor, and I was running before I even knew what I was doing, screaming to my supervisor that I had to go. I called 911 as I sped home, my hands shaking so bad I could hardly hold the wheel. "My daughter's been shot," I kept saying, over and over, like if I said it enough, it wouldn't be real. The dispatcher asked questions I couldn't answer. Who shot her? Where? How bad? All I knew was I had to get to Ellie. When I got to Pine Hollow, it was chaos: police cars, ambulances, neighbors gawking from their lawns. I shoved past them, screaming Ellie's name. There she was, on a stretcher in our front yard, paramedics swarming her. Her shirt was cut open, IVs in her arms, her face pale but awake, those big brown eyes locking onto mine. "Mom," she whispered, and I dropped beside her, grabbing her hand. The bullet had hit her lower back, just above her hip. The paramedics were calm, but moving fast, too fast. "We need to transport now," one of them said. "The bullet likely hit her kidney. She needs surgery, stat." Across the street, Connie was in handcuffs, her perfect hair a mess, her face blank like she didn't even understand what she'd done. I wanted to scream at her, to demand why, but Ellie needed me more. In the ambulance, she squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. "I came home early, Mom. Had a migraine." She was in our backyard, messing with the router box again. When I told her to leave, she pulled a gun, said I needed to learn my place. At the hospital, my hospital, the trauma team took over. Dr. Patel, who I'd worked with for years, looked grim as he examined Ellie. "The bullet damaged her left kidney," he told me quietly. "We'll try to save it, but it's bad, Sarah. You need to prepare yourself." I nodded, my nurse brain kicking in even as my mom heart broke. I knew what he meant. Kidney damage could mean a lifetime of complications, dialysis, or worse. As they wheeled Ellie into surgery, I sat in the waiting room, surrounded by co-workers who brought coffee I couldn't drink, sandwiches I couldn't touch. Hours dragged by, each update worse than the last. Finally, Dr. Patel came out, his face heavy. We couldn't save the kidney, Sarah. We had to remove it. She's stable, but she'll need lifelong monitoring. Her other kidney should compensate, but there are risks: high blood pressure, infections. He didn't say the rest, but I knew if anything happened to her remaining kidney, we'd be in trouble. When Ellie woke up in the ICU, her first words killed me. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have just run." I held her hand, tears falling. "You did nothing wrong, baby." Nothing. But inside, I was burning. Connie wasn't just getting away with this, she was going to pay. Not just in court, but in every way that mattered. She tried to break us, but she'd underestimated what a mom will do for her kid. I started digging, reaching out to the families Connie had driven out. The Wilsons told me about losing their home, how Connie's fines left them bankrupt. The Garcias shared how she'd made their lives hell until they fled. Each story was the same: petty rules, endless fines, legal threats until people broke. I realized Connie wasn't just a bully. She was running a racket, pocketing HOA funds through shady contracts with her buddies. I got mad, then I got smart. I organized a community meeting, expecting maybe a dozen people. Over 50 showed up, clutching folders of fines, emails, photos of violations, like a kid's tricycle left out overnight. Mr. Jenkins, the guy with the deaf dog, told us Connie threatened to have his house condemned over a cracked driveway. A young couple, the Parkers, said she'd banned their twins' lemonade stand for unpermitted commerce. It was bigger than us. Connie had built a system to profit off fear. We fought back. We voted to dissolve the HOA board, demanded an audit of their books, and hired a lawyer, Rachel Kim, who specialized in HOA abuse. Rachel was a shark. She found proof Connie had been skimming funds for years, funneling contracts to her cousin's landscaping company, even paying herself a secret salary. The criminal case moved faster. Connie faced charges of attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and fraud. At the trial, I sat front row every day, staring her down. Ellie testified from her hospital bed, her voice steady despite the pain, telling the jury how Connie shot her for daring to speak up. The evidence was overwhelming: neighbors' security footage, medical reports, a dozen witnesses who'd suffered under Connie's reign. The jury took 2 hours to convict her. 27 years in prison, no parole for at least 20. As they cuffed her, Connie looked small for the first time, like the bully she was, stripped of her crown. Ellie's recovery was brutal. She'd been a track star, but now she got winded walking to the mailbox. Nightmares woke her up screaming, and she flinched at loud noises. But she was tougher than me sometimes. She went back to school part-time, ignoring the whispers, the stares, pouring herself into her college essays. Her personal statement about surviving Connie's bullet got her full rides to 3 pre-med programs. The community stepped up. 2 neighbors brought casseroles, local businesses sent gift cards, and Ellie's school started a scholarship in her name. The Pine Hollow HOA was rebuilt from the ground up, focused on helping people, not punishing them. Gardens bloomed, kids played in the streets, and that suffocating fear was gone. The civil suit took longer, but we won big enough to cover Ellie's medical bills, set up a trust for her future, and give us breathing room for the first time in years. More than that, it sent a message: HOAs can't just ruin lives without consequences. The Ellie Davis Act passed in North Carolina a year later, capping HOA fines, requiring oversight, and giving residents a way to fight back. Other states started following suit, all because one girl refused to let a bully win. 5 years later, Ellie graduated top of her pre-med class, her speech about turning pain into purpose leaving not a dry eye in the room. I'm still a nurse, but I spend my weekends speaking at community meetings, pushing for laws to protect people from power-hungry tyrants like Connie. Our house on Cedar Drive is home again, not a battleground. The Wi-Fi password: we win 2025. A little reminder we're still standing. But here's the thing: sometimes I wonder if we could have stopped Connie sooner, if we'd all spoken up before it came to a bullet. That's where I need you. Have you ever dealt with someone like Connie? Someone who uses rules to control instead of help? Drop a comment, share your story. Let's talk about what justice really looks like, because I'll tell you this standing up isn't easy, but letting bullies win is worse.